BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions. This is going to be a tricky video for me to discuss because you have known I wanted to talk about this for a while, but I'm going to be talking about real life people, which, okay, I've done this before, but when it comes to a situation where I have to talk about a person's real life events and how it influenced the media properly that people do not like, I need to find this balance between fun and serious. So if I have a severe case of mood whiplash, just so that when it comes to the why, to make a long story short, we're talking about bullying. For those of you that are curious right now, I was watching Tall Girl 1 and 2 in the background during the making of the production, which was supposed to come out on Friday, while I worked on this, and I want to talk about the lead actress of it, Ava Michelle Cota. Basically, what inspired this video was that when Tall Girl had come out, I saw a lot of people who didn't like the film, and while I wanted to see some reviews on it, I was noticing people in the comments bringing up the fact that the lead actress was actually bullied for her height, which people didn't believe was something people could get bullied for. Well, people's issues with the film was that it was making it seem like being tall was the worst thing someone could be bullied about, which was not necessarily the worst thing. I do kind of understand for where people who have been bullied for being tall comes from. So I looked into it for a couple of months randomly, was disgusted about what happened, and when I found out this girl was actually bullied on live television, and not only were fans okay with it, she was being bullied by grown adults in the industry for millions of people to watch. Yeah, kind of disgusting. So let's talk about how the real Tall Girl was bullied in real life for her height on live TV. Type Ava deserves better, all tall women deserve better, because they do, and let's get started. Okay, look, society is very weird when it comes to both tall and short girls because it ends up with one being placed as better than the other, or both of them getting treated terribly to the point where you start to question what's the point of all the dumb comparisons. Instead of just respecting people for who they are, they just do condescending praises, which might be the misogynistic equivalent of what happens in Get Out. I mean, look at book stories and romance. You got short girls, Lucy inspired by Ali Hazelwood and Elena Armas, being like, he's so big and huge and mean, and he could also crush me like a grape and also fit my whole breast in my mouth like when I eat chicken breast, except I'm the breast getting eaten, and I'm so tiny and small and frail like a baby, even though I'm like 25 years old. Then you got tall girls, which Lucy inspired by most male authors I know. I towered over certain he noticed me like I'm a little tall but somehow not too tall, but instead of focusing on the aspects of me that I would like, I talk about my curves, my tight pants, things I have an expiration date, and shit on my own outfit, even though most people just wear normal outfits because they aren't trust fund nepo babies. But somehow I'm not taller than a male protagonist unless I'm written by a woman 75% of the time, and even then I'm probably not going to be love interest and treated as a punchline about how tall women are undesirable because they're big and scary, even though that's what I secretly wish I was. Or iCarly just brainwashed an entire generation to think tall women are scary and undateable. I told you guys the script is going to be even weirder than usual. Alright, let's get to Ava. Alright, so Cota was born on April 10, 2002. Wait, she's younger than me? Anyway, the daughter of Rick and Jeanette Cota, who we'll talk about, who attended JC's Broadway Dance Academy run by her mother Jeanette, though it closed later after the show ended, and we'll talk about her mother later, but you all know her as the actress who played Jodie Cramen in the Tall Girl duology. Throughout her life, Ava's been a dancer, model, and actress, and most of you probably know her from at least one of those roles or have heard of them. It stands to reason, well, Dance Moms was the first thing that got her known to household names. From what I could find, she was trained in contemporary, ballet, point, jazz, and tap dance, and was a model and made her debut on the runway for New York Fashion Week in 2017. But she started on screen in Dance Moms in 2013 and had roles between seasons 4 and 7 of that show in her debut, even starring in one episode of a spin-off. So, what led from Dance Moms to Tall Girl? Bullying, because she was tall. I'll get into the irony of people who criticize the Tall Girl movies because people believe that there was no way anyone could get bullied for being tall in real life, because I'm going to show you that she was to the point Lifetime has an entire montage of that. I'm going to start with the fact that we saw Abby say during an audition that she thinks Ava's a pretty good and fabulous dancer for only being 10 years old, but she doesn't have her side aerial and can tumble and dance, which is what she's looking for, and she got quote-unquote rejected. But Jeanette had said that she thought Ava beat Kendall, and that's fair for people to get angry at that. But then it resulted in the moms arguing and then trash-talking the kids, which is like, fair enough, Abby didn't do that, even though I'm going to question why the moms were resorting to doing that. But then through the performances and the other mom's hive mind starts to get to Abby, Ava was practicing with an umbrella and was practically having some issues with confuse her mom because she was like, the mistakes she's making here aren't at home, and it's not held by the other moms claiming Ava's not going to win. But when her mom tells Abby this, Abby's like, your kids' arms are horrendous. They look gargantuan, like a praying mantis. They are horrendous. And then when Ava's mom is like, reasonably, what the hell? Why are you talking to my daughter like that? We can't do anything about her arms being wide. Abby's like, we can fix them. Which, like, no, you're not a plastic surgeon. Let's try to make a routine that complements her limbs instead. But whatever, she performs with the umbrella prop, which led to a whole argument because, as it turns out, it was Abby's idea to leave with it and wanted Ava to perfect it, but the umbrella retracted backwards, but Ava was still able to perform, and then now they're treating Ava like an idiot for not being able to open up a prop instead of trying to get the prop fixed so that doesn't happen. And to make matters worse, she got 3rd place at the overall solo awards, which is still pretty impressive. She made the top 3 out of like 20 people participating, and yet everyone was acting like she fumbled. At that point, Ava had joined the select team, and yet Jeanette went to take Ava for another competition without telling Abby, and Abby kind of blew up at the mom for that, which, like, okay, heat her off with a warning that, yet the mom apologizes, and yet, like, Abby just kicks Ava off the team. And I get it, you know, communicating is important, but, like, over-punishing the girl feels unnecessary. Jeanette returns, which led to some arguments in season 4, and this is the damning part. Despite the drama, Abby tricks Ava into going for a hug before taking their jersey and yanking off Ava's body, then tells Ava, "You're too tall for us today, you're cut." And it's like, how is that a valid reason to determine one's dancing performance? Like, this poor girl is crying just thanking her for the opportunity despite kicking her off for something that didn't even stop her from getting on the podium. So Jeanette's naturally like, okay, I'll take my girl to nationals. And it's like the rest of the moms are all showing sympathy when Abby's not around outside acting like they care about Ava when none of them showed any sympathy. And I agree with her mother. How are you not going to give her any support inside, but now you're giving it when none of them gave her any support when she needed it? Also, Jeanette calls out Abby for liking to tag her name on every single thing that these kids are successful about. While researching this, yeah, it turns out Abby decided to repost Rebecca Davis congratulating Ava Michelle on her Netflix series, aka film. So Jeanette might have been right on that front. At the Energy Dance competition, Jeanette challenged the ALDC with her own Broadway Dance Academy with Ava. Though I'm not sure if this team included people from when Jeanette took over leadership of the Candy Apples team in Los Angeles and rebranded the team with Ava as her own BDA team. And all of ALDC's girl was told to shun them. Then, after an argument with Jeanette, Abby, and the other moms, Abby decides to go backstage to psych Ava up, and Ava's got to get support from the younger girls to calm down. And after Jeanette, lets another official know, another argument has Abby hope none of her kids lose to Ava, only for Kalani to end up in 4th place while Ava ends up in 3rd. Then later, Ava decides to make a performance called Hurtful Words based off all the terrible things Abby has said to her and others, with her movements based on trying to get rid of all the mental words, won the solo award, and then beat Maddie at the junior solo awards. So it's like, Ava took all that crap Abby gave her and used it as fuel to win. But there's a point I want to bring up that's pretty obvious. Okay, if Jeanette and Ava weren't stalkers, why did they keep coming back to the dance company in order to get Ava on the team? Look, I know there are secrets of reality TV that are not public to the eye, and I know it'd be easy to say editing, but none of y'all thought, maybe the producers are bringing them back with false claims in order to stir drama and continue the narratives that they have, aka lying and manipulating. In a celebrity interview with Celebrity Parents Mag, Jeanette got called from a mutual friend of Abby and her and said to get Ava there right away because they were auditioning for ALDC and for Dance Mom, so they packed the car and drove to Pittsburgh, and she auditioned because while Ava was 10 years old, she made it to the final 2, but they decided to cut her because they said she didn't have her aerial, but Abby wanted to see how to know the competition and to keep practicing her aerials. And in the meantime, according to her, Abby and her grew a friendship, and when season 4 came, they found out they're doing auditions to bring on a new team. But for some reason, no one wants to fact check, and everyone decided, hey, there must be some justification. Let's blame the mom that's just trying to do her best for her daughter. Not, hey, let's question why a grown woman over the age of 30 is bullying a 12-year-old for her height. Like, no one finds it two-faced that you build up repertoire with someone behind the scenes and then you treat their daughter like crap on live TV just for ratings. Heck, the same thing happened on The Bachelorette with Hannah Brown's season. The villain of that season, Luke P., who often used the Bible as a shield for toxic behavior, was eliminated, and then we see him trying to get back to the show. And it's something that the producers were clearly supporting by the fact that they're actually recording him on rope back despite eliminating him. So yeah, production does try to play into these events when it comes to reality TV. And to Jeanette's credit, she actually managed to make it work by proving that Ava could do it, with Ava putting in the performances of a lifetime in order to show Abby made a mistake getting rid of her since she beat most of her old teammates. Not to mention that gave the producers time to make a storyline out of the opportunity, but it hurts seeing Ava treated like that. But at the same time, well, it's also the fault of the producers that never said, hey, you never had to be a jerk. That's entirely up to the cast on how they wanted to respond to that type of drama. Besides, look at it from Ava's perspective back then. She's like 12, and like look at her saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, like I've been kicked off a team because I was too tall. I've been attacked online a lot on social media. I can't find it, but I did see tweets with other people mocking her for that and supporting Abby's statements." And like also like you're making fun of someone for being thin, even though most dancers usually are thin in order to make sure that the bodies are flexible enough in order for them to do their movements. Which that's not to say that plus size models don't exist, and those type of dancers are both amazing and valued. But bullying a minor on the internet and then claiming her mom wasn't feeding her, like that's just evil. Before I talk about the Tall Girl movie, some of you may be wondering what happened to Ava after the movies. Unfortunately, according to some people, she lost her brother a year to accidental fentanyl poisoning, and she's been trying to raise awareness about the issue since, I believe, 2022. So here's my question that some of you have been wondering. Everyone on the internet hated the Tall Girl movies, or at least saw the sequel as an improvement, but what did I think? I think the first Tall Girl is just okay, and the second one is an improvement. Yes, I'm actually saying I don't dislike the movies, I just think I have one issue with the first one that massively holds it back. Okay, two, but we'll get into that. The smaller one is that because you know she's the main character, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, but the focus is all just kind of on her when we have all these interesting people and they make jokes about the fact that the rest of the side cast is pretty interesting, but we don't really get them fleshed out until the sequel, which isn't necessarily bad, but would have helped some people feel the first one was more balanced. My main issue is because the story focuses on it being a teen drama, the whole like acceptance speech feels rough. Not that it comes out of nowhere, but it needed a stronger story that resonated with what you actually went through, because a lot of people felt like the film was saying that being tall is like the worst thing possible. And literally they do make a joke in the film about, you know, the black girl saying, how come no one wants to talk to me about my issues? And Ava kind of treats some of her friends a little poorly, which some of them are minorities, which people are mad about because even though, you know, character development, I thought we didn't want perfect heroes. But I think it should have been about her finding her passion and then being mocked by everyone for not being able to do it. And I was going to say it should have been about her dance, but the film has her performing piano several times, which I thought would have been a proper conclusion. You know, going on stage and performing the piano, jotting out all the critiques from people who just hate her for just being tall and show that the hatred that she was getting was undeserved, even though it was already undeserved. Some of you are wondering, how come you're not saying that it should have been about her dancing like on Dance Moms? And a part of me genuinely believes that would have made for a better story, especially since the second one focused on both dancing and performance anxiety as a singer and on stage. But the thing is that when it comes to childhoods, especially when it comes to trauma, yes, authors technically do try to write about their life experiences, but sometimes it's really hard for people to either relive or revisit some of those hardships that she went through. And she had to endure a lot of that when she wasn't even a teenager yet. And that can be pretty traumatizing for someone who's not ready to try and explore that in the content that they are making or they're starring in. So as much as we all dog the first movie, I can at least understand why it was made the way that it was made. Because, you know, be treated as normal. Because as someone once said, when it comes to tropes and cliches that are overused, nothing is overplayed until someone from a marginalized or less enjoyable background gets to use it. Now, are you guys going to get my reaction to the Tall movies? We will see, but I think this video has gone on long enough. I think the moral of the story is, just remember at the end of the day, we're all human, and no matter how tall or short you are, as long as you live your life the best possible way without harming others, you deserve acceptance. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one, and BIP of Productions, signing off.